The night clung to him like a damp overcoat as Lieutenant Daymond Handler stepped onto the cracked pavement. The flickering street lamp casting a jaundiced glow on the corner, where shadows danced freely between this world and the next. He knew it could just be an anomaly of the morphic field, but he had to push such thoughts from his mind. No extraneous intrusions, he urged his mind. Surrender. Let yourself go under. He exhaled a long plume of smoke, the last remnants of a comforting though fleeting cigarette, watching it dissipate into the pall of night. The city was a symphony of sirens, alleys, and whispered secrets in back rooms. But the police station loomed ahead like a lighthouse in a storm, a bastion of external, flickering fluorescent lights and internal weary souls. The squad car ahead was already unloading its cargo. 2 femme fatales from a decent night's work. Sitting down with 2 such women for interrogation promised to be as challenging as it did pleasing. A sharp pain crossed his mind. The world skewed momentarily, refocusing, then reoriented itself. He found himself a few steps farther away than he had been just a moment prior, but the same scene played out again, a macabre déjà vu. As Lieutenant Handler stepped back into the night, he caught sight of the squad car, parked haphazardly along the curb, its siren light still sputtering like the last breaths of a dying star. The heavy door creaked open, and he could hardly suppress the smirk that tugged at the corners of his mouth. The night was still young, but the car was already unloading its cargo. 2 figures stepping out into the half-light, silhouettes sharp against the glow of the street. They emerged as if scripted for the stage, dressed to the nines in a way that would turn heads even in daylight if such a thing could be seen here. He recognized the aura they wore like perfume, danger wrapped in desire. The first woman, raven-haired and striking with an icy gaze, arched an elegant brow while clutching a large purse tightly to her chest, while her companion, a blonde with a heart-shaped face and an easy smile, flicked her hair back as if shaking off the night's troubles. Together, they radiated a magnetic energy that seemed to defy the grimminess of the world surrounding them. Handler's pulse quickened. Sitting across from 2 such women would be a dance of wits and charm veiled in tension. Interrogating them would prove as challenging as it would be intoxicating, a duality that both thrilled and unnerved him. He wondered what secrets lay behind their painted smiles, what labyrinth of deception they might unfold under the glare of the interrogation lamp. He took a drag from his cigarette, the smoke curling upwards like tendrils of untruth, and watched as they sauntered toward the station, heels clicking sharply against the asphalt, a staccato rhythm that echoed with promise and peril. The streetlights flickered overhead, casting an artificial glow, illuminating the shadow that slid with them like a lover. The station would be their stage, and Handler would play the reluctant leading man, drawn into a story he could never entirely write. He could already hear the hushed whispers of the department, feel their eyes on him as he navigated this intricate game of cat and mouse. But he couldn't shake the feeling that beneath their poised exteriors lay currents of desperation, a web of fear threading through their bravado. As they entered the station, Handler pushed down the excitement bubbling in his gut. He was not just hunting for answers. He was inviting trouble to sit down for a drink. The night had promised a tangle of intrigue, and as the station door swung shut behind the 2 femme fatales, he knew he was stepping deeper into a labyrinth from which not all threads from that yarn would lead back out. Daymond pushed through the heavy glass door, the familiar jingle-jangle of the bell, a welcome sound. Inside, the air hung thick with the scent of stale coffee and the faint tang of sweat, a cocktail of desperation and duty. The sounds of shuffling papers and low conversations filled the room, accompanied by the rhythmic clatter of typewriters. A relentless metronome in a world gone awry. Shaking his head to clear his mind of a lingering headache, he took a moment to soak it all in, the turmoil outside easing as the door creaked shut behind him. The walls, lined with aging portraits of long-forgotten chiefs, seemed to nod in silent acknowledgement of the battles fought within these walls. This was his sanctuary, a place where intuition took root and reason thrived in the face of chaos. It had to. Order and reason within must prevail over madness without. As he made his way into his office in the back corner and to his cluttered desk within, his mind raced with the details of the case that had been clawing at him all night. A car inexplicably found under the roof of the old theater. The unforgiving streets that run from that theater all the way to the nightclubs and gin joints strewn like a farmer's seed across the city, and a whisper of danger curling around his gut, his instincts. He needed clarity, a chance to sort the threads of this narrative that wrapped themselves around him like the monstrous tentacles of a behemoth. Daymond settled into the harsh but reliable embrace of his chair, the worn leather creaking beneath him like an old friend. He dropped the duffel he was carrying onto a nearby couch and lit another cigarette, the smoke curling upward, a lazy serpent lost in the weeds of thought. His eyes roamed over the haphazard collection of evidence that sprawled across his desk. A crumpled photograph, a liquor bottle half filled, and a volume from an encyclopedia set that had somehow found its way into the fray. He tosses it atop the duffel bag and shakes his head. Each piece held a story, an intricate puzzle waiting for the right hand to assemble it. He poured himself a cup of black coffee, cold now that he'd been out of the office for a while, the bitter brew washing over his tongue, like the reality of the streets he patrolled in his youth. Outside, the distant thunder of tires on wet asphalt drummed a desolate tune, a reminder that the night's work was far from over, but that would be for other men, younger men. In here, surrounded by the familiar embrace of badges and belief in justice, he felt a flicker of resolve igniting within him despite the years. This was his domain, a theater of crime, where every case was a performance, waiting for its tragic denouement. And tonight, as the city swirled with secrets and shadows, he was determined to play his part until the curtain fell